3, 2.
Welcome to IR Insight Live. I'm your host, Will Briganti from Nasdaq. We're here at the 2018 National Investor Relations Institute Annual Conference at the Wynn Las Vegas. Joining me as my guest is Mark McReynolds from Pluralsight. He's Director of Investor Relations. Mark, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, for all of those that are watching, Pluralsight is a newly listed company to the public markets. They listed on Nasdaq on May 17th in New York. So Mark, tell us a bit about the IPO process from the lens of an investor relations officer. What's that like, taking the company from private to public?
Yeah, I feel like we were actually very prepared. We did 3 mock earnings calls with kind of analysts that we know and kind of picked up and got a lot of feedback. Did a lot of training. I reviewed basically everything Q&A related on IR Insights, right. And I actually got an early look at IR Insights and spent days with it, and so that was very helpful for me to prepare to meet who we were meeting. We did an 8-day roadshow, did 9 cities, 60 plus meetings, exhausting, but very, very exciting. It was an experience of a lifetime for me.
Yeah. So. And now that you're on the road, you're meeting with investors, obviously no inside baseball, but what are some of the kind of key themes that you're seeing as an investor relations professional as you're meeting? Obviously here at the conference, we're hearing a lot about ESG. We're hearing a lot about different strategies to identify new investor targets. So what are the things that you're kind of doing to kind of get your IR program up and running?
Yeah, ESG is a big deal for us. We actually found got a lot of positive feedback on our kind of ESG related programs at Pluralsight. Our kind of social impact arm is called Pluralsight One.
Okay. Something
that we're extremely excited about that helps with our mission. Our mission is to democratize professional education across the globe. Mm-hmm. And Pluralsight One is helping us do that. We actually have kicked off in Lebanon and Jordan, and we have a pilot program with about 300 Lebanese youth that have been displaced to learn tech skills, to prevent them from being a lost generation. And so our founder, Aaron Sconard, is extremely passionate about this, and the investors on the road could really tell. And, I think in the past maybe, and even some of the investors that we met with weren't extremely interested, but the majority were, and it really landed, very well with institutional investors.
So obviously a lot of an investor relations officer's role is about communication. So if my final question today is really about advice. Mm-hmm. That's a big theme here at NERI, is sort of learning best practices. So for companies that are private, that are thinking about a public offering, for that next up-and-coming investor relations officer, what advice would you give them about the IPO process?
Yeah, I would just say be ready to be available at all times. Yeah. No investor or no research analyst is too small or too big. You essentially give them the exact equal amount of attention that you would give to anybody else. From Wellington down to some of the smaller investors that we met with. To give them the equal amount of attention, give them the equal amount of information, and just be available. Right. And honestly, I've been a finance guy my whole life. I'm a CPA. Right. I don't have the investment bank background, but one thing that I really had to get comfortable with is our company. What do we do?
Your
story. How does it work?
Yeah.
I kind of had the advantage that I was actually a customer of Pluralsight before I joined the company, so I understood the power of the platform and how it can change a person's career, can change a person's life. But yeah, I would say the 2 things is be very available, be very responsive, and know your company. And that's been, how I've been successful so far in my 6-month investor relations career, but I've got a lot to learn. It's been helpful so far.
Well, Mark, I really appreciate that insight. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Will.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Mark McReynolds. He's Director of Investor Relations at Nasdaq-listed Pluralsight. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll have more updates here from the NERI 2018 Annual Conference coming to you live from Las Vegas. Thanks so much for tuning in.